Welcome to this lecture series on Buddhism in Myanmar. This lecture series is basically sponsored, organized by the Center of Buddhist Studies, University of Hong Kong, and we are actually in collaboration with the Shan State Buddhist University. And so I would like to first of all thank Professor Guan Xing, our Director, Center of Buddhist Studies, and Venerable Professor Kammai Dhammasamy, Director of Shan State Buddhist University, for giving our audience an opportunity to listen to great speeches on Myanmar Buddhism. And so far we had completed two, and today we are going for discussing another aspect of Buddhism in Myanmar. So today's topic is in meditation in Myanmar. So our speaker is well known, and Dr. Pyi Phyo Kyaw. I don't know whether I pronounced your name. Sorry. Dr. P. I call Dr. P. And she's the Dean of Academic Affairs of Shan State Buddhist University, and she's also a lecturer in Tirawada Buddhist Studies there, and currently she is also visiting senior research fellow at King's College London, and actually she's holding various degrees from very prestigious universities in UK. Her BA is in Economics and Management from the University of Oxford, and MA in Buddhist Studies from SOAS, University of London, and PhD in Buddhist Philosophy from King's College London. She's also known as a meditation sort of a practitioner as well as a teacher, and she has undertaken meditation practice within different meditation traditions in Myanmar over the past 15 years. And she has also undertaken monastic training in Myanmar as a precept nun in a meditation center in several years, 2007, 2015, and 2020. Dr. P is also a specialist in Burmese Buddhism and Abhidhamma and Theravada meditation and Buddhist business practices and Buddhist ethics. So today actually our audience is very fortunate and lucky to get this opportunity to hear some discussion on Myanmar's Buddhism, some meditation practices. So she is actually the key organizer in this series as well. So I warmly welcome Dr. P and to this forum, and also give you this opportunity to make the presentation and also answer questions coming from our audience. Okay, thank you for today joining us, and so it's you can start. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Soma, for your kind introduction as well as invitation as well. So it's been a wonderful opportunity for us at Shan State Buddhist University to run this kind of a series of lectures. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share screen now. Stop sharing. I want to share my PowerPoint slides. And so I hope you can all see my PowerPoint slide. As you can see here, this is the third lecture in the series of 4. So in the previous 2 lectures, we cover an overview of Buddhism in Myanmar and Pali study in Myanmar. So now what I would like to explore in this lecture and the next lecture is are two kind of distinctive features of Buddhism in Myanmar. As you can see here, so today's topic is specifically focusing on meditation. Meditation, and let's look at what we will cover in this lecture. So the first one is I would like to give you a general overview of what is meditation according to Tirawada Buddhism. And then we will be looking at Pali words and actually Pali loan words, i.e. the terminologies that we find, the Burmese terminologies that we find regarding meditation. And then we will then look at social, political, as well as cultural context of Myanmar since 19th century, because this will give you an overview of how various factors actually shape what we now know as the Burmese Wipasana movement, as well as mindfulness movement, and how these various contexts actually shape and inform meditation teachers and their methods. So we will look at a very overview of prominent meditation teachers, and then we will actually focus specifically on Te Ingu Seattle's practice, which is, I will explain a little bit more. Te Ingu is one of the meditation traditions that is now has now becoming very popular in Myanmar. And then we will look at various conclusions. Okay, so this is the plan for the lecture. Now let's look at what is meditation, or what meditation is. So when we think about meditation, we can think of it as a kind of a range of practices to bring about self-transformation. When I mention self-transformation, it's what we're talking about is a change in our responses, thinking patterns, our habits, as well as our character. So these are kind of mental qualities that we might try to change through various meditative practices. In addition, when we also talk about self-transformation, we know that meditation can help change our physical makeup. We have evidences from neuroscience and brain study of brain structure and things like that. So the research is there and the evidence is there. Of course, when we then look at the goal of Buddhist meditation, from a Buddhist perspective, it's to attain nibbana. So to overcome any defilements, kilesa, and when I say kilesa, it's we are also talking about temporary defilements, nivarana, and as well as the factors. So samyojana, so samyojan, danyosin in Burmese. So these defilements and overcoming them, and to be free from them, and so in that sense, attaining nibbana. Of course, when we then talk about, so this is the goal of Buddhist meditation or Theravada meditation. Of course, there are kind of two broad aims of meditation as well. So one is samatha. So this is about calming the mind and the body. And then we also talk about Wipasana or insight meditation. I will explain a little bit more about these terminologies and these concepts later in the lecture. Now I just want to explain the kind of, in Tirawada Buddhist meditation, we often talk about the 4 stages of liberation. Of course, this is a kind of a well-known, established kind of stages of liberation. The first one is string antara, Sotapanna, and when we talk about attaining Sotapanna, of course, there are different defilements that one's actually remove as one progress along these 4 stages. And the final stage is Arahat, so being free from all the defilements and kind of all the kind of samsara, so the round of rebirth. And so this is just an overview of what meditation is. Of course, when we think about the practices, I will come back to the practices later. But now let's just look at terminologies a little bit more closely. So when we look at discussion about meditation or discussion on meditation, we find Pali terminologies like bhavana. Bhavana is kind of bringing or to bring together and cultivation. So it's about producing, and this concept is really kind of touching on developing the qualities that are needed in order to overcome and remove defilements. And then another term that we find is Gamatana. Gamatana literally means kind of place of object of work. So here we can see, for example, in the Visuddhimagga, there are 40 objects of meditation subjects or meditation objects that one can work on in order to achieve samadhi and samatha jhana practices and things like that. Of course, when we then think about these terminologies within Burmese or Myanmar context, we can see that these Pali terms have been adapted. So one of them is Gamantan Yeta. So this is a Pali Burmese terminologies that is used to refer to meditation center. So literally it means a pleasant shade for object of work. So Gamantan means object of work, and Yekta is pleasant shade. So it's where we go and kind of do meditation and things like that. Another terminology is samatha. So I mentioned the term before. So this is about calming the mind as well as calming the physical agitation and busyness, as it were. So here, samatha, there are, and also another terminology, important terminologies that are often related and talked about is Wipasana as well. Wipasana is literally means seeing through and investigating or analysis or analyzing. Often we translate Wipasana as insight meditation. Of course, these two terminologies, they are quite versatile, by which I mean that these terminologies, we can think of samatha and vipassana in terms of a path to, or the path to liberation. And in the Sutta Pitaka, what we find is in the suttas, these two terms are used to refer to different paths that one can start with. So for example, a practitioner might start with samatha approach, or sometimes they might combine the two. But these are very important two qualities or aspects of meditation. Another way to think about samatha and vipassana is also a kind of like a method that one can use, meditation method or meditation techniques that one can use. So samatha meditation would actually involve involve focusing on particular or one meditation object, and then mastering the object. For example, color disc. This is just one of the, or mindfulness of focusing on the breath. Vipassana also can be thought of as a meditation technique or method. Here, and when we talk about vipassana is kind of being aware of the present moment and being mindful of whatever that sensory elements that might arise at a given moment. So just being aware of those sensory sensation and any kind of object of thoughts and things like that. So another way that samatha and vipassana has come to kind of, these two terminology has come to associate with our meditation tradition. So some would say that meditation tradition in Myanmar are regarded as vipassana meditation tradition. So for example, Mahasi vipassana meditation tradition or meditation center. One of the another features that is quite unique in Myanmar Burmese Buddhism is Wazer tradition. So usually Wazer tradition, these are kind of Buddhist wizard that aims to prolong their life so that they can actually get enlightenment at the time of the next Buddha. So these Wazer traditions are regarded as samatha tradition. So that these terminologies are kind of used interchangeably. So what I have presented in this slide, they cover broader elements or mechanisms of meditation. The next slide, I want to look at specific qualities that we come to associate with meditation. So the first one is samatha, samadhi. So we usually translate samadhi as concentration. And samadhi is kind of bringing focus to an object, and we can talk about momentary concentration. So being focused on each moment, that is also samadhi. But when we also talk about samadhi in terms of samatha practice, these are the kind of concentration that one would develop. They will become very strong and very focused to the extent that one would actually attain meditative absorption. So jhana, state of mind. So the next item here is jhana. So the first two are usually associated with samatha practices. Of course, it doesn't mean that sati does not come into samatha practice. Of course, it does come into sati is also important in any kind of meditation practice, because sati is literally mean kind of to remember and to be mindful, or so that's why we usually translate as mindfulness or awareness. And sati, one of the qualities of sati is it's prevent us from prevent our mind from floating away. So to remember, to come back to the, say, meditation object like the breath, for example. And so that's sati is also very important. But usually sati is in Wipasana practice, sati is much more kind of emphasized, because in a Wipasana practice, what usually happens is that there are many objects of meditation. So because you are observing the sensory kind of stimulus and responses by moment. So it means that you actually need to remember to observe what's going on at a given time. Another element that is usually associated with meditation is Panya. So the whole point is that wisdom also comes into that, and also there are also other qualities as well, which I won't go into. But another important qualities that we aspire to develop is jnana or Wipasana jnana. So these are insight knowledges. And for example, in Visuddhimagga, one of the meditation manual that is very popular in Tirawada Buddhism, that there are Wipasana jnana or insight knowledges, different stages. Of course, in terms of Myanmar, when we talk about meditation in Myanmar, there are specific terminologies that are used at various specific meditation tradition. One of them is ati. So here, ati normally means knowing. So to know something or knowing something. But in the context of meditation, ati or timu, this is actually about sense consciousness. Sense consciousness is kind of like, if you like, Epidemic terminology, where when there's a contact between, say, the eye and the object, there's a sense consciousness, or when there's a touch and the touch, knowing the touch or sensing the touch is also we can call that as a sense object. And this terminologies and this quality is also important. I will come back to that point later in the talk. Another one is sati. So this is the same as sati or mindfulness. Is also very important. And you can see here in the image, ati and the Buddha image at Buddha Town Pagoda in Yangon. So highlighting the two qualities that are important in meditation practices. So this is this image was sponsored by a famous actor in Myanmar. So these mental qualities, all of them, they are very important. One thing that I would like to stress here is that in order to do bhavana or to cultivate these different mental qualities, they have their role. So I think it's very important to think of them as interrelated and kind of mutually supportive qualities, rather than, okay, samadhi is more important, or sati is more important, because all of them are very important. Another important qualities that I like to mention here is viriya, or energy. One, because it's viriya. When we do bhavana or cultivation, we need to actually we need to do a lot of repetitive practices. So repetition and being determined and being kind of, the effort is very important. So these are the qualities. Now I want to shift a little bit to kind of socio-anthropological factors, and look at two distinctive features of Buddhism in Myanmar. So as you can see from the images, so the first image on the left is the meditation, Tengu Meditation Center in Pyi. So highlighting that meditation in Myanmar is very important, as we all are now aware. And also Epidemic as well. So the lecture next week will cover that. So here, just to explain the images very briefly. The images on the right, they are at an oral examination of Epidemic, and Epidemic Propagation Association in Yangon. So every year, this was the 45th time that they hold these kind of examination. Not only oral examination, but they also hold written examination as well. So anyone, lay people as well as monks and nuns, they can actually sit these exams. So what I'm trying to capture here is that meditation and Abhidhamma, they are kind of, we can think of these two aspects as distinctive features of Buddhism in Myanmar. So when we then focusing on meditation, I would like to draw your attention to the 19th century Burma or Myanmar at that time, and how people in Myanmar responded to British colonial rule, and as well as any other kind of technological advances that the modern Myanmar has kind of come to face. So what was kind of very distinctive and distinctive about that period was that both lay people and monks and nuns, they had this fear of end of Buddha's teaching, Buddha Sasana. So these responses, because of the changes in technologies, social as well as cultural, not only social and cultural, but also kind of educational climate and settings. Because of these various factors, they then looked to Wipasana meditation, as well as Abhidhamma studies, as a way of Burmese response to unique to Myanmar. And the leading two founders or founding fathers of the Wipasana movement in Myanmar is one of them. The first one is Ledi Sayadaw. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with his work and his role in meditation and encouraging lay people, especially lay people, to study Epidemic as well as to do meditation practice. Another Sayadaw is Mula Mingon Jidawon or Jidawana Sayadaw. Unarada, and he's the teacher of Mahasi Sayadaw, but he himself also wrote many books and texts, and both of them, they are very kind of learned Sayadaws and well respected by Buddhists in Myanmar. One thing that is we should notice is, since that time, not only Wipasana meditation, but also Epidemic studies has kind of has taken off, as it were, because many lay people started to study Epidemic and started to practice meditation, but and then it then spread to other countries. But we should note that Epidemic studies are quite slow in terms of transmission to transmission globally. There are specific reasons for that, which I will cover in the next lecture. Now, I want to give you a framework within which you could actually understand why Epidemic and meditation are very important for Buddhists in Myanmar. So this slide and this chart actually highlights the different mechanisms that are working. And the first one is in this column, what we see is that these are Buddhist belief. So one of the beliefs is that Epidemic is the embodiment of the Buddha's omniscience, so Sabijñana, and that Epidemic, especially the final text of the Epidemic Pitaka, so it's the Patana or the Patan, is regarded as the great defense of the Buddha Sasana. So many Buddhists in Myanmar would believe this Epidemic as a kind of a great defense. Not only that, meditation in the 19th century, since 19th century, is regarded as a mind or mental culture that is kind of superior to any other modern technologies and technological developments. So you see here, these two factors, they are very important. If you already have these kind of beliefs, combined with socio-political factors, which is shown in the second column, we saw in the last week lecture that there is a strong literary traditions of Buddhist studies in Burmese history, not just in current period, but also throughout since Bagan period or even earlier. And also there's an increased study of Epidemic, at least from the 16th of the 17th century Burma. So you have that strong literary tradition. On top of that, there are, as with any society, any countries, there are threats. Some are real, some are imagined. The threats, they can come from external or internal. So external being in the early 19th century, it came from the British or the European colonial power. The internal one for example, actually could come from various Buddhist groups regarding controversial teachings or any teachings that might be seen as unorthodox. Okay, so these kind of threats to the survival of Buddha Sasana, as well as for the country, for the nation. There's also natural threats, so cyclones and various now COVID pandemic. The threats from supernatural threats, so angry spirits or any dark magic or any kind of any beings that might be seen as threats. So, and then you have nationalism. This is kind of very becoming widespread since 19th century. Of course, even before that, there were times where Burmese or people in Myanmar or Myanmar region would actually try to differentiate Tirawada Buddhism as a kind of identity, establishing Burmese Buddhist identity, things like that. Of course, when you combine Buddhist belief and these socio-political factors, the outcome is that what we have is omnipresence of Epidemic or Epidemic culture. So we have mass Epidemic studies, transformation of studies on Buddhist texts. I'm sorry that I can't explain or go into the detail here. And then Epidemic meditation, or the use of Epidemic in medicine, so traditional medicine, Epidemic-based apotropic practices, so for chanting and things like that, and actually using Epidemic terminologies and concepts in daily objects. So one of the popular one is 24 condition or Pattaya, as logo or fans or banner or anything like that. And then there's a feedback loop. So these outcomes then kind of reinforce the belief because of sermons and Dhamma talks given by monks and lay literary, as well as kind of memorization and recitation of Abhidhamma, and kind of the gods being very helpful in order to bring luck as well as prevent any danger. So these are reinforcing forces that are at play here. So you have this framework to think about meditation and why meditation traditions are very popular and why they came about. And Abhidhamma study is very popular in Myanmar. The next one is, I just want to highlight a little bit. So this table actually summarizes prominent meditation teachers in Myanmar since Lady Seattle time. Of course, Gustav Hoffman PhD thesis is an excellent source on kind of meditation lineages in Myanmar. So if you want to kind of explore these lineages in detail, then I recommend Gustav Hoffman's thesis. But just to look at the table, and the kind of thing that I would like to draw your attention to is, if we look at, I've color-coded the kind of lineages that came about. So for example, Ledi and Siataji, and then Ubaken, we can kind of think of them as kind of one of the main lineage of Burmese Wipasana lineage. And then we have Mahasi, so Zetawong Mula Mengon Seattle, They are Mahasi kind of Wipasana lineage. And then we have Solon and Tengu. These two traditions actually stand out because they don't actually have any base on textual. So textual basis here means that some of the traditions and meditation teachers, they rely on specific texts and specific kind of teachings. So, for example, Mogul Seattle's teachings, he drew a lot on Paticcasamuppada. So you can see here in the picture as well. So from now on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through various meditation teachers. I'm sorry that we don't have time to spend a lot of time to go into detail, but just look at how we can kind of think about meditation lineages stemming from various meditation teachers in Myanmar. So Ledi Seattle, I mentioned Ledi Seattle before. He noticed that he wrote so many books, and basically, as far as I know, I might be wrong. We don't really have a clear picture of the kind of practices that he pursued or he practiced under. And most of the practice that we can kind of think about is that he might have undertaken is they are from his book, his books. So many different kind of practices. Anakan Seatlaji was a student of Ledi as well. So he then actually kind of taught to Siayi Ubaken, and who, as you can see from here, who was in contact with Webu Seattle, one of the meditation teachers, well-known meditation master as well, and then Siayi Asang Goenga, a student of Ubaken as well, and notice that the technique that they kind of use is mindfulness of breath, but also sensation. So looking at the bodily sensation and contemplating on the impermanent nature of our body and mind processes. Okay, and then if we then look at the next kind of lineage, so Mula Mingon Zitawon Seattle, and we know that Mahasi Seattle practiced under Mula Mingon Seattle as well, but to what extent he kind of practice under Mula Mingon Seattle, we are not very clear. And one of the texts that are quite textual basis that use is Mahasatipatthana Sutta. Of course, when we talk about textual basis or base that these meditation masters use, it just to kind of highlight specific texts, because these meditation masters or teachers, most of them were very learned, and they drew on canonical texts as well as commentarial texts and so forth. So they would be kind of drawing on a range of Tirawada literature. That's one thing that we need to keep in mind. The next meditation master that I would like to highlight here is Mogul Seattle. So like I mentioned, Mogul Seattle focus on the teaching of dependent origination, but he combined theoretical as well as practical. So he would explain theoretical aspect of Paticcasamuppada in detail, but also try to apply it in practice as well. And when we look at Mogul meditation methods as well, we can see that one can start with mindfulness on breath, and then one would move to looking at chitta or mind, so mindfulness of your mental states. When we Mogul Sayadaw usually kind of taught us to regard our breath as home, and other thoughts that might arise as guests. So one would focus on the breath, and then so one would actually always come back home, so to the breath. When there are other thoughts, they are just guests. So you just recognize and you let them go, and you return to your attention to the breath. So this kind of practice is, of course, for advanced practitioners, there would be more kind of a precise way of practicing meditation. Another Sayadaw that I would like to highlight here is Pa'autoya Sayadaw. And we can see that from various Dhamma talks as well as books and publication and his teachings. His methods actually follow meditation system in the Visuddhimagga. So the practitioner, most of the practitioner would go up to different levels of jhanas, so meditative absorptions. One might start with mindfulness on the breath, or one might choose color disc or 4 elements. And so these are kind of samatha practices, if you like, and then move on to vipassana. So when the practitioner moves on from samatha practice to vipassana, in vipassana stages, the practitioner would look at mental and material states and how they are related, and causality in terms of causation and cause and effect. So these are very much very detailed and precise way of cultivation and doing bhavana. Then the next 2 meditation teachers, they are quite different and unique. So one is Solon Sayadaw. So Solon Sayadaw, and the next one is I'm going to look at Daengru Sayadaw. So both Solon and Daengru Sayadaws, they are not they were not learned monk. They did not have education in monastic training or monastic education. So Solon Sayadaw, for example, he was born in Upper Burma, and although he was sent to a monastery for education, he learned very little. And then he, in his before he became a monk, he was a farmer. And he started meditating because of strong fear of death, and so he was he was worried that whether, if you haven't got any theoretical training or education, whether one would be able to undertake the practice of meditation. His method is focusing on the breathing, but using very strong, forceful breathing technique. But he once, when people start to recognize his meditative achievements, he was also questioned by educated monks. So this is one thing that quite, I would say, quite a common practice in Myanmar. If you are well known for meditation achievement and things like that, educated monks and lay people will try to have a if you like, Q&A session with you. The next one is like Solon Seattle. He was not educated. When he left a monastery, he could barely read, and then he was married 4 times, and he was a robber. And during one of his robberies, he had a near-death experience. And so he became very fearful of death, and that's prompted him to start practicing meditation. So he kind of just followed Solon Seattle's methods. And again, he was questioned by various educated monks when he became kind of quite well known for his meditation. So I just want to kind of look closely. I don't know how much time we will have, but closely at Deng Seattle's practice. So by focusing on Deng Seattle's practice, we can kind of, in broad terms, we can think about it like this. So the first one is he tried to overcome wrong view. And then as a next step, he tried to overcome craving. So he often in his Dhamma talks talk about removing wrong view, deity, and removing craving, tanha. So just look at how he overcame kind of wrong view. So he started his practice started with heavy rapid breathing. So he experienced kind of intense bodily sensation, and he kind of started realizing kind of arising and dissolution of sensations, and then gradually leading to arising and dissolution of everything, and seeing the nature of suffering. So in that sense, he overcame wrong view, and so that any bodily sensation that he experienced became kind of depersonalized. So just seeing sensation as sensations. And then the next step, as he continued with his practice, mindfulness and concentration became stronger. So, and then he experienced kind of mental image, nimitta, of impure aspect of the body decomposing. And then, so he went through these kind of different stages of decomposing or asubha features or asubha characteristics. And then what he experienced was his own body as well as bodies of others started to decay and decompose and things like that. So in his meditation, that's what he kind of experienced. And one thing that he realized and overcame was craving. So he saw that even the pleasant things that we normally would call it pleasant, they became unpleasant and they became suffering. And then he in his Dhamma talk, he would describe a very detailed kind of asubha or impurity of the body meditation. So to the atomic units of matter. So this is again touching a little bit on Epidemic. Interpretation and Epidemic and understanding of our body. I would like to move on to kind of the final kind of practices that he experienced. How he overcame kind of latent defilements. So he explained that, you know, once he experienced all of these kind of suffering and seeing decaying bodies and everything, he still kind of experienced there's a attachment to subtle units of matters and mental states. So he tried to meditate and contemplate on these states as impermanence, suffering, and without a self. So these ways of seeing, they are actually kind of how Wipasana will be cultivated. So he investigated mental states as well, and he contemplated them as kind of impermanence, suffering, and non-self. But finally, he then realized that these three characteristics, they are also concepts. And then what he said was that as soon as he realized that, he just kind of stops, and seeing becomes seeing, hearing becomes hearing, and everything. So this is where he attained Yathabhuta Jnana Dasana, so seeing and understanding the way things are. One thing that I like to highlight here at the beginning is because I mentioned that Dengu Siaros as well as Sono Siaros meditation techniques, they are quite physically challenging. So because you have to breathe quite forcefully and quite fast as well. So what you usually, as a practitioner, you need to have a strong samadhi. And here, Dengu Siaro say that let samadhi lead. How to achieve the balance between samadhi and panya. So he's kind of highlighting samadhi and panya has to be balanced. And in terms of breathing and also focusing on the sensation, what this chart actually shows is the breathing and the vedana. So focusing on the sensation, intense sensation or pleasant sensation, any kind of sensation. Ideally, as a practitioner, you want to have a balanced mind, meaning that you want to have with vedana and breathing. Here I put breathing rate. It can be breathing rate or it can be the force as well. So you are balancing breathing, the breath, and vedana. And if you have, a stronger breathing rate or a faster breathing rate or stronger breathing force, then your mind is unbalanced. So you would be in this zone, as it were. And because it's likely that you will have pleasant sensation or too much concentration. If you are under here, then as a practitioner, what you might be experiencing is too little concentration. So concentration is not enough. Therefore, your mind is not balanced because you might be experiencing very intense sensation, vedana. And ideally, you want to be on this. So this is about actual practice, how one might balance the two. Nowadays, the Tengu, not just Tengu, but other meditation traditions, they are also adapting to various challenges, especially during COVID-19 pandemic. So this is a meditation teacher as well, the abbot at Wazer Tradition Meditation Center in Pyi. So, and what they have started to do is they have started to develop specific systems to train meditators from beginner stage to advanced level, and they kind of came up with stages of practice. During just in terms of talking about adaptation, they are now running online retreats via Zoom as well. This is just one example. Other meditation centers and traditions, they are also running retreats on Zoom and online platform. Going back to the technique, like I mentioned, they provide stages. So for the beginner, strong, forceful, rapid, and rhythmic breathing, you start with that. For advanced practitioner, breathing in and out with a focus on sensation. So you move from rapid breathing to kind of normal breathing in and out, but focusing on sensation, later on thoughts and things like that. In terms of posture, you have to sit for 2 hours without moving. So in Tengu tradition, this is the normal. The posture should be kind of comfortable, straight posture, and they focus specifically on posture as well. So they will ask you to check your posture from time to time. Notice that they also do guided meditation. So initially guiding the practitioners to understand and accept physical pain or physical sensation. And then later on, they might move on to kind of looking at mental states and emotions and emotional pains. Although they might not use these terms and they might not focus specifically on emotion as such. One aspect, like I mentioned before, Solon Siaro and Tengu Siaroji, they didn't start with theoretical background, but within these traditions, because of growing audience as well as kind of attracting educated monastic and lay audiences, they begin to theorize the practice. So one example is, this is Alan Siaro from Tengu Namatati 32. And he wrote 3 books theorizing and explaining the practice. One of his book is the Path of String Enterer. So this book actually draws on Epidemic as well as especially Wisdom and highlighting similarities as well as differences, how different stages of practice one can follow. So this is just an overview. Now, what I would like to present you is the conclusion. So we come to the conclusion. As I mentioned, there are, if we think about meditation tradition in Myanmar, we can see that Ledi and Mahasi Mogul Pa'al traditions, for example, they draw on textual authority with a focus on Epidemic. These traditions have centralized organizational structure, meaning that they have headquarters, Mahasi and Mogul in Yangon, Pa'ao in Molamyai, and the role of prominent business people and government officials. These people, they promoted these traditions. So, for example, we know that from Mahasi tradition. So Mahasi tradition has a very close link with UNU and UNU government. So getting support from the government was very important. But when we look at Solon and Daegu tradition, they didn't base their teachings and meditation practice on textual authority. But these theologies, they were tested repeatedly by experts in Buddhist texts, especially or including Abhidhamma understanding. And within their tradition, they have decentralized organization and structure, meaning that although there's a headquarter for these traditions, they are not very well kind of organized or centralized. And for these two traditions, especially Daegu, the role of social media and online seem to play a lot in promoting these teaching methods and practice. The next conclusion that I like to present here is, when we think about meditation, we can think is meditation as a lived tradition. This may seem obvious, but meditation in Tirawada society as a lived tradition, we can at best trace back to the very end of 5th century in in Cambodia, Laos, and other parts, or Sri Lanka as well. But in Myanmar, we can trace it back to the 19th century. Before that, there were attempts to promote meditation, but these didn't have long-lasting impact. And meditation in Theravada societies, they are rooted in authoritative texts, including the Pali Canon and commentary literature, as well as handbooks. They are also adaptable. We can see that from Wipasana movement, later, which is now known as mindfulness movement globally. And then they also adapt in terms of developing a wide range of methods. Even the traditions which didn't base their practice on theories, they now start to theorize the practice. And also meditation in Myanmar is widespread, not just in Myanmar, but also diaspora communities around the world. That is becoming more obvious with online retreats, attracting from meditators from different communities around the world. Some of the retreats on Zoom, they attract over 1,000 participants. The next, the final conclusion that I like to present is the role of Abhidhamma in meditation. So throughout this lecture, I mentioned that in Myanmar, Abhidhamma, there's a strong Abhidhamma culture. And because of that, the meditation and Abhidhamma, they are closely linked. And partly because of the educated demand from educated audience. And also there's a tradition that, meditation practice and meditative achievements are or have been measured against orthodox Abhidhamma texts. And also Abhidhamma can be thought of as a prescriptive guide to help along the practice. So when we look at the Pyi practice, for example, of Pyi methods, these are kind of Epidemic or Epidemic understandings, as highlighted in Visuddhimagga. They are prescriptive guide to help the practitioner along the path. Meditation is also can be regarded as a descriptive aid to help the practitioner make sense of the experience. So for example, one of the examples that I can think of is Deng Usiaraji, when he explained about his various achievements in various meditative achievements. Some of the commentators, they try to think of it or describe it in terms of Abhidhamma terminologies and Abhidhamma understanding of stages of liberation. So these are three conclusions that I would like to present. And I've included the selected bibliography at the end. The PowerPoint, the PDF of this PowerPoint will be online. So I'm now going to stop sharing the screen, and I'm open for questions as well. So, right. Wait. There are, just bear with me, there are a few questions that I can see in the chat as well as Q&A box. So I'm going to run through them. Right. The first question that I have here is, I'm exploring a self-awareness without reflective thoughts, sitting with minimum binding to the friction of life. Is it possible to be awake without any inner monologue? Okay. So this is about, the first question is about, is it possible to be awake without any inner monologue? Yes. When I think in my lecture, I mentioned about thinking patterns and habits. So meditation and sati or mindfulness should actually quiet down our inner monologue. So this is about calming the mind and calming the mental and physical agitation that we might experience. So with the practice, so samadhi, sati, we should be able to kind of quiet down our inner monologue and be awake. Of course, when we talk about inner monologue, means there's a repeated automatic patterns of thoughts that usually they are kind of negative, but there are also positive ones as well. So through samadhi practice with a combination of sati as well. Here I like to highlight the importance of balancing sati with samadhi as well. So not just samadhi on its own, but being sati as well. Because if you are awake, you need to be alert and you need to be mindful. So this is the kind of where sati is essential. Okay. Meditation. Right. Meditation is mindful becoming the Panya, but though we are not practicing giving, how can we go Nibbana? Not quite. So the next question is, among the 4 postures, which posture are the most useful in Myanmar? Or you mean used in Myanmar? Whether do you think these postures are more effective meditation? I think this is about the 4 posture and the kind of which posture are most popular in Myanmar. I think it depends on the meditation tradition. One thing that I would like to kind of say here is, I read somewhere that Wipasana, for example, he doesn't lie down. So lying down, that posture, it seems to be the least popular if we look at that. However, I'm sure there are other traditions that would try to balance all 4 posture. But it seems that, I might be wrong, but it seems that sitting posture seems to be the most popular one if we think about meditation retreats. For example, some of the kind of Dudanga practices, they don't recommend lying down. So for example, at Wazer Meditation Center in Pyi, they have retreats where the meditators do not kind of sit or do not sleep or do not lie down. So these kind of Dudanga practices, they might also do that as well. So, but other meditation retreats that I've been on, so for example at Mogot, so you have to kind of take turn. So sitting down and then going for a walk, they walking meditation, and then sitting meditation, and that kind of alternating pattern is also there. The next one, how do I get information on online meditation retreats? Okay, so if we are thinking about Myanmar meditation centers, I would recommend Facebook. So go to their official Facebook meditation Facebook page, and usually they announce their online meditation retreats during COVID period. So I would recommend that. I mean, of course, it means that I'm not sure whether you would be able to read Burmese, or perhaps your friends might be able to help you with that. Okay. Wait, I'm trying to look at chat as well. I will try to answer questions from Q&A box. So right. Okay. The next question is prescriptive guide and descriptive aid, practice and experience. How do they differ? Number 2 is Epidemic medicine. Okay. So prescriptive guide is like if we think about meditation as a prescription, highlighting, it's like a blueprint, giving you a blueprint. Then you then try to practice according to the manual. So prescriptive guide is, you can think of it like a manual. A descriptive aid is like you are trying to understand what you experience during your meditation. And so say if you, this is just an example, if you are experience jhana or absorption and things like that, then you might try to look at Visuddhimagga description of jhana states and try to make sense of your own practice. So this is like describing, okay? Practice and experience. Practice is kind of, you practice, you do repetitive kind of, if you focus on your breath, you keep going back to the breath, and this is kind of like a practice. Experience is when you, in a meditation context, it would be like, say, if you have a deep concentration, perhaps not jhana state, but a deep concentration, your body and mind, your mind might be very calm. So this is about experiencing, okay? Epidemic medicine. So Epidemic medicine is, there's a, in Myanmar, in Tangda, there's a Tangda Epidemic, school. So they use Epidemic as a Epidemic teachings or Epidemic understanding in their medicine. So how they treat you in terms of your health. The next one is, so in the Solo Searo, Moko Searo, Tengu Searo methods, to what extent Wipasana Jnana? So that I'll discuss. Okay. Right. Solo, as far as I know, not a lot. In Solo and Tengu. Mogul Searo is also, I don't think it's a lot there. Mogul Searo, if I remember his Dhamma talks accurately, Mogul Searo draws on a lot of suttas as well. So doesn't really discuss Wipasana Jnana or Satta Visuddhi, so purifications. Solo Searoji himself, I don't think he would have discussed these Wipasana Jnana or the Visuddhis or the Tengu Searo himself. Like I said, it's Solo Searo and Tengu Searo, they are not learned in terms of pariyati or scriptural learning. So, but later teachers, they might discuss a little bit. That I'm not quite sure. I'm trying to think any teachers from these traditions that might actually discuss these stages. Can you explain a little bit on nimitta? This is about nimitta or nimate. Yes. So mental images. So if we think about Visuddhimagga, for example, and how nimitta are discussed in Visuddhimagga, what you might, I'm going to talk from a practice point of view. So you might focus on a color disc or the breath. And initially, what you might try to do is you might try to kind of visualize or look at the color disc, and then gradually the mental image, as you practice and as your concentration gets stronger, they should arise. And then they should arise, and they would initially it might be kind of very fade, very kind of dull, and then you might then get a bright light and so forth. So there are different stages. And then at the kind of almost jhana level concentration, then you might have a very strong nimitta. And then you would expand the nimitta to different parts of the cosmos and things like that. Of course, there are other traditions. One of them is Kani tradition, where you try to kind of project the nimitta out and follow the nimitta externally, and then you would then move the nimitta around the body internally. There's another tradition, Baron. So old method is called old method. The various scholars are calling it old method, meditation method. In Cambodia and Laos and Sri Lanka, which almost died out now. In that tradition also, they try to move nimittas around the body. And then by moving the nimittas around, one could actually kind of have a change in our physical makeup or physical states. So that's I think that's one of the kind of unique thing about that Baron old method meditation tradition. The balance between breathing and Vedana. Does the practitioner do these at the same time or alternatively? This is a very good question. So this is about Tengu practice and Tengu technique, for example, breathing and Vedana. So usually it will be, you would start at the same time. So looking at the breathing and then Vedana. So, but basically, in order to balance, balancing is not the aim of this practice. The aim is to realize how our mind works. So the aim is that because when we sit for say 2 hours, our physical sensation they become very strong, and therefore our mind doesn't want to stay with this sensation. So they will the mind will go to the breath, and then if you stay, but because of the pain, the mind cannot stay with the breath. So they would then return. So it's about kind of looking at how your mind works. So monkey mind, how the monkey wants to run away from pain, but at the same time the monkey is curious about your pain. So he would, or he or she would go down and look at the physical pain. So that kind of thing. So this is balancing, means that of course you are trying to manage and see how the mind is kind of playing out in relation to physical intense sensation that you might feel. Okay. Right. I like to go to chat box as well, because in the chat there are also some questions. Otherwise, I might miss questions from the chat box. Right. So there's one question: which of the various methods should we adopt for one who is new to meditation? And the same person asked, which method is the most widely practiced today in Myanmar by monks and lay people? The first question, I think what I like to say here is various methods is. Rather than thinking about methods, I like to highlight the meditation objects that is most kind of popular. So the first one is mindfulness of breathing. Of course, there are different traditions use different methods to do that. So, for example, Mogul Seattle will be just kind of focusing on the natural breath and things like that. Or some tradition might try to combine the breathing with counting and things like that. The second most popular kind of meditation object is the loving kindness meditation, for example. So those are the popular ones. In terms of for the beginner, I think it would be best to just kind of find a meditation tradition or a meditation center and just follow whichever that these centers might provide. So I think that would be kind of most suitable, especially if you are new to meditation. In terms of method widely practiced, we cannot say for certain, but in terms of the growth of various meditation centers from different traditions, we can see that Mahasi tradition, Mogul traditions, Pao traditions, Tengu traditions, they are growing in terms of meditation centers. So if we kind of think about it like that, these traditions are kind of getting very popular in that sense. We don't know in terms of monks and lay people whether there's a clear divide in terms of which methods is much more popular with monks, but it's likely that those traditions which draw their teachings from textual tradition, they will be more popular with monastic members, so monks and nuns. Partly because these monks and nuns, they are kind of, most of them have monastic education background, so they would be more they are more likely to go and practice in those traditions. Right. Okay. There's another question. There are monks questioning that Myanmar meditation practice emphasis on Wipasana is not according to Buddha's teaching, as they said. This is about Samadhi and Wipasana. So like I mentioned in my talk, I think both Samadhi and Sati or Wipasana, these two qualities, I like to think of Samadhi and Sati as the qualities which are very important. Sati usually associated more closely with Wipasana. So if you think about Samadhi and Wipasana, or Samatha and Wipasana, these two paths or these two qualities, whichever way that you might want to think about, these two, they work in tandem. So they work very closely. And that is my opinion. I think we cannot, we all are important. All qualities are, mental qualities are important, you know. So I think this, as a practitioner, we should keep that in mind. That why Epidemic is popular in Myanmar. I will touch on that point at the next lecture. The next question is about some meditation practices as new invention as a reaction to British colonialism. I think if we look at meditation traditions, practices, and technique in Myanmar, it's a very a wide range, and most of them, if not all, to some extent, we can trace back to the Pali Canon, if we regard Pali Canon as authentic, orthodox, and kind of authoritative teaching. So for example, Asubha meditation, for example. This kind of meditation practice, we can find that in the suttas. So these are not new in many ways. Of course, one thing that we might want to differentiate is, okay, where do you focus your attention on? Do you focus on the nostril or the tummy, and so forth? These are kind of techniques that various individual practitioners and meditation teachers had tried to teach. So I think these are kind of, if you like, different techniques that various teachers use. Whether they are new invention or old methods, I think the question is not. It's not. I think that question, that kind of thinking, is a little bit. We can think of it in a different way, because in individual practitioners may experience the breath in different places. Some may experience, or some may feel more in the stomach, in the chest, or at the tip of the nostril, and so forth. So if we think about it like that, then it doesn't matter. But what matters to me as a practitioner is the qualities that one would try to develop and cultivate. So do bhavana. Okay, so I think that is one very important. Vedana. There's a question about Vedana. How to recommend practice? What is better than? I'm not quite sure about the question about Vedana, but I will try my best to answer your question, Benava Wujita. This is so when we think about Vedana, for example, I mentioned the Tengu tradition and Tengu Seattle's practice. if we think about Ubakin and Siaji Ubakin and SN Goengaji, they also emphasize Vedana as well. Which tradition I would recommend? It depends on what kind of what you would like to. I think it depends on your character to some extent, and to what extent you have practiced meditate. You have been practicing meditation. So Vedana. One thing that I like to say when you focus on Vedana and doing Vedana Wipasana is that it's, like with any other meditation, you have to be very, very patient. And also you have to kind of keep up your effort. This is same that, if you have meditated in Asango Nyingaji's tradition, or if you go and meditate in Daengu, for example, then you will have to kind of specifically work on that. There are the way to think about is different traditions approach meditating on Vedana or sensation differently. Daengu tradition, you have to sit for 2 hours. So this is this might be a big challenge for some practitioner. If you go and practice with in Siaji Ubaken or Sango Ngaji's tradition, then it's different. So you have different timetable and different ways of dealing with that. So you might want to start with 1 hour practice on Vedana first, and then move on to kind of Daengu method as well, or Daengu kind of 2 hour meditation. Another one is and this is about seeing Myanmar meditation practice paid attention very much on seeing light and kasina. Do you think this is a form of attachment? Yes. Anything that you crave during meditation is also a form of attachment. If you crave for the lovely sitting that you had previously, that's also attachment. One thing that I like to share here is Daengu theology, as well as my teachers in Daengu tradition, what they normally highlight is that if you take each sitting as a new thing, that is the kind of right frame of mind. You are already in the right frame of mind, because you're focusing on the present moment and you're trying to kind of deal with whatever that comes up with, if you crave, or if you want to see light or kasina and things like that, or nimitta, then in itself, the fact that you're wanting could become an obstacle. So hindrance is nivarana. Okay, is a form of nivarana. Okay, right. Thank you. How is meditation in Myanmar different from that of Mahayana and Vajrayana tradition? I don't think I'm qualified to answer your question. So this question is about how is meditation in Myanmar different from that in Mahayana and Vajrayana traditions. I can only say from meditation in Myanmar, because I'm not an expert in Mahayana or Vajrayana tradition. I can't seem impossible for me to answer that question. Okay, just can I just check that we are going to, is it 7? I mean, another, say, 15 minutes, is that?
Yeah, there is until 8:30. Yeah, 15 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I can answer a few more questions. So I think I've done all the questions in the chat. So let's look at question answer box. Why are there different meditation methods, although the Buddha taught that the 4 foundations of mindfulness is the sole way to liberation? I think it's, even if we look at say canonical texts and the suttas, we can see that there are within that, within the Pali Canon and the canonical texts, we can see that there are different meditation methods or different meditation objects and things like that. Partly because we individuals have different characters, traits, and temperaments, and different ways. So that's one way to think about that, about why we see we have different meditation methods. And another thing is that, like I said, Asuba, so meditation on impurities, or in meditation on on different body parts and things like that. These kind of meditation objects, they are already in the canon. So that's one thing. Another way to think about this question is also, why are the 4 foundations of mindfulness become very well known within Wipasana movement in Myanmar, as well as global Wipasana outreach. And part of that is because we know that meditation teachers like Mula Mengon Siaraji, Mahasi Siaraji, they draw a lot on the 4 foundation of mindfulness. So Mahasatipatthana Suttas. So this is also from a kind of sociological or social point of view. So these ones, we need to keep that in mind. The next one is, how is COVID-19 affecting meditation centers in Myanmar? So like I mentioned, meditation centers, they are closed in Myanmar. They don't, as far as I know, so far, they don't accept any meditators. They don't have any retreats in real life, but they have retreats online. So that's how it's been. And also, I should mention that as part of COVID-19 responses, some meditation centers, they become quarantine centers for people who are positive or people who are returning from other countries. What input would you recommend? So this is about, the next question is about any recommendations for secularized mindfulness meditation programs, such as MBCT and MBSR and so forth. I think there are various scholars now actually trying to look into how they can try to incorporate Buddhist understandings and the Dhamma, also the Sila aspect as well, into these programs. And I think they are doing some interesting work, and also they are doing some great contribution as well. So it's, if we think about it, there's a whole debate about ethics of mindfulness applications in various settings and things like that as well. So another elements that I like to, or rather one element that I like to highlight here is, if we look at meditation traditions, I'm going to talk about Tengu tradition, because I know that tradition quite well. That tradition, there's a very close relationship between teachers and students. So one thing is that, these programs, perhaps one thing that we mean the traditional Buddhist setting might be able to contribute to that therapeutic programs, is that if there's a continuation of teachers and students kind of contact, that could also be very helpful, because what you need is guidance, close guidance, especially if you then move up to different advanced practitioner level and so forth. So not just to stop at beginners level. Right. Breathing stronger and faster method, so Solon and Tengu methods. It seems that these two stronger and faster methods, they seem to have, the practitioner could actually develop concentration faster, if you like, because with a heavy and faster breathing, you have to really pay attention, and your mind has to be there. So it seems you are able to catch the wandering mind more often, and therefore the concentration, the focus can increase faster. So that would be. Do we attain jhana without samadhi? I think no. Samadhi is very important. Whether to attain jhana or any level of concentration, because samadhi, it literally means kind of bringing together and bringing the focus. So you need focus to attain jhana. So this kind of absorption. Other than Visuddhi Magga, not in this lecture precisely, but there are other publications that I've done, and and also in that publication, I talked about the Patana and how meditation can be related. And also, if we look at Mohnyin Sayadaw writing, he talks about the role of Patana in meditation. So there are other Epidemic texts, okay, and also Epidemic Sangaha. So the 12th century. I think one or two questions, then we should wrap up.
Yeah.
Perhaps. Yeah.
One question maybe.
Yeah, one question. Okay. There's one question about, is there any mutual influence between meditation tradition in Myanmar and in neighboring countries like Thailand, Bangladesh, and India? Yes, in Thailand there is, and also in Sri Lanka, but I'm not sure about Bangladesh and in India. Asang Goenkaji kind of spread Wipasana to India, and Asang Goenkaji worked in kind of or rather taught in prisons and things like that in India. So there's definitely a link, influence, and kind of influence. In Thailand as well, yes, and there are. So to that question, I think we should stop.
I think enough, I think. Thank you very much for today's wonderful lecture. And actually, it was a very comprehensive overview on meditation in Myanmar. So you have actually, as a scholar practitioner, actually this kind of talk can be given only by scholar practitioner. So you have actually your learning and also your experience in meditation. So all actually came to work in this presentation. And it was a very wonderful and excellent presentation. And we had a very big audience also today, around over 150. So I am sure that everybody were able to be benefited from your lecture. So yes, so Dr. Pyi, and I think on behalf of the Center of Buddhist Studies, University of Hong Kong, I would like to express our actually gratitude and thankfulness to you for this presentation. And we are looking forward to next week. Next week, you will be presenting on living traditions of Abhidhamma studies in Myanmar. So almost connected to this topic, it seems. So it's expanding this further. So we are very we are looking forward to this presentation. And thank you for today, and also thank you for all the participants in today's presentation. So with this, I would like to conclude this session and see you next week. Next week. Okay.
Yes, see you. Thank you. Nice.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.